United States. And they are using it right this very minute on the battlefield in Afghanistan and Iraq. And if they can use it and be secure about it, then we should be able to figure it out. And hopefully I'll be able to pry it out of them and implement it. But I don't see that as the end problem. And yet people will be screwed over. They screw over the internet. Do we stop doing the internet because there's jerky spammers out there? No, figure out how to deal with it. So it's what it is. Yeah.
I mean, obviously, Robin, I agree with everything that you say about the scar we're trying to implement. It's one of the conundrums, it seems to me, in this is that if we look to what, and I've experienced this from talking with governments around the world, if we look to the biggest monopoly, silo-organized organization, i.e. governments, to be an essential catalyst for making this happen, I think we will delay things. I think innovation and disruptive exemplars are what should happen. I know in many countries, for instance, massive amounts of money has been poured down these silos trying to deploy IT in order to administer the way they are operating. So get the hospitals talking to the hospitals and hospitals talking to the drug companies. The real benefit is when you get the hospital talking to the school, when little Johnny's fallen over, and can decide whether to take him across town or to put him on a high definition video link directly locally so that the consultant can talk to the teacher. The problem with that is that that policy can only be implemented from the bottom up. And it will take an awful lot, from my experience, for central governments to devolve right back down. There's an interesting movement at the moment. And I mean, I shall never forget, about 8 years ago, having with the Deputy Prime Minister in the UK saying, look, what you need is an exemplar. And he said to me, well, what do you want me to do? I said, what I want you to do is to promise you'll do nothing. Promise me that when the large vested interests that will be threatened by this go and knock on the door of Tony Blair and say, hey, this is ruining my business, that you'll tell them to go home. He said, well, of course you can't do that. They're major things and very important companies for the British economy. So I think the interesting thing is, and what I said earlier, is that I see an empowerment within communities and people here that is beginning to really grow to a level where it can have an impact upon the political scene. So it's a bottoms-up thing for me.
I agree with you. And over the last few years, I've been working both top-down and bottoms-up, trying to merge the two. And yes, government is intensely frustrating and it's no doubt a waste of my time. But those guys do need to be informed, and so we can't not inform them. And so I have to keep going back and slowly changing their mindsets. But I do think that the bottom-up exemplars are where it happens. Except, but the one case, you can always have cases, but the internet came from a government-financed project that then sneakily, because no one had any idea that it was going to revolutionize the world, happened. So I do see that there is a potential and a role if we can make it happen. So I'm trying both prongs, but you're right, I can't hold my breath in government, and I have been pounding my head for the last 4 years without success, but if I could get success, it'd be nice. But the example part, and Zipcar is an example of that, that we revolutionized car ownership in the way cities think about cars by example. And under the radar. Any other comments?
So I have a question on now. One of the main things that people tell me when I discuss with them about open resources in any way, there are lots of people who want to pay money, don't care about anything, don't participate in anything, just pay for something, get something, and forget about the rest. What do you tell those people?
Just as I said, we have wireless and fiber together. I think we have people who like to own and people who like to use. And they need to be a joint pair. So if we thought of cars, for example, the status quo today is that it's one car per one adult, and it sits on the road. It gets used at most 2 hours on average a day, and the other 22 hours. What we showed with car sharing is that, in fact, you can have a very small number of cars being used by 20 to 40 people. That was not to say that every single person in the population said, that's what I want to do. But a significant enough fraction did, so it made a huge dent in car ownership. So today in the US, Zipcar has 7,000 cars being driven by around 400,000 people, and that's 7,000 cars and 7,000 parking spaces, keeping 400,000 people happy, which means that through the numbers, it reduced the number of cars sold in the US by about 150,000 cars last year, which is, I went and checked with my friend at GM when I was talking, which is 0.5% of the US car market was not bought thanks to car sharing in the US, thanks to my own company.
So you put the trouble.
I did. And I can do more. But, so I feel like to ask that question, I don't care. So not everyone wants to, who cares if everyone wants to do it? But a huge percentage of people want to do it, and a huge number. And as that number grows, it becomes much more status quo. So you're an idiot. You want to spend 6,000 euros a year on your car that you drive 2 hours a day? Good for you. I'm not so dumb. I spend way less. Is that it? Any other questions?
Yeah, some comment on car sharing. There is something also in Austria. It's called car sharing mobility, and they're partnering with a Swiss company called Mobility. I don't know about those ones. I moved to Switzerland 2 years ago. Before that, I used my car once every 3 weeks or so. When I moved to Switzerland, I knew they have good public transportation. I gave my car to my mom. And now, okay, if I have to go to IKEA or a big shopping or so, I have to plan that maybe 1 to 2 days in advance and book the car via the internet. And all you have to do is change your habits a little bit. It's just not standing outside your house and you can use it when you want. You have to book it. So it's a small change of habits that you have to do. But then car sharing is the solution. I don't have to care about the parking space because it's owned by Mobility. I don't have to care about fuel, insurance, repairs, or I don't have to buy the car. I mean, this is maybe not something for somebody who has been driving cars for 40 years and doesn't want to give up that habit. But I think as soon as transportation, individual motorized transportation becomes more expensive, and also road-wise pricing is introduced, this is going to kick off also in Europe. I'm convinced about that.
I want to just add one last remark, because you said that. My largest, despite the, I have many loves in my life, and open source mesh and community wireless is number 2. Number 1 is addressing climate change. And the one piece that what you just said does, when you don't have the car sitting downstairs with full sunk costs, people drive 80% fewer kilometers than they would if they were downstairs. And it's because you now have to think rationally, do I walk, do I bike, do I take transit, do I go with someone else, or do I get my own vehicle to go do it? So the largest win when I look at the future, it's we need to have alternative fueled cars and we need to have all of that stuff. But if I can just get people to pay the real cost full on by the hour, they reduce their miles by 80%. And so again, back to Zipcar numbers, we have the number of amount of CO2 that hasn't been put into the atmosphere last year was 500 million tons on the back of people who didn't drive, without having alternative fuel cars or fancy anything, just today. So again, a platform with speed and scale. Thank you.